Hi, I'm Chris Lee, and this is Virtually Speaking. Joining us today is Daymond John. From his incredibly successful role on ABC's smash hit Shark Tank to his distinguished status as a presidential ambassador for global entrepreneurship for Obama, Daymond has become globally recognized for his relentless commitment to promoting and supporting entrepreneurs. Daymond initially made his own mark as the entrepreneur and branding expert behind the groundbreaking lifestyle brand FUBU, which has eclipsed more than $6 billion in global retail sales. In 2009, Daymond joined Shark Tank. Now, after 12 seasons, multiple Emmy Awards, multiple Critics' Choice Awards, millions of dollars in investments, and the making of many millionaires, the show has become one of the most successful business reality series of all time. Daymond has been a mainstay on the cast of Sharks and is now affectionately referred to as the People's Shark. He is also the most successful investor of all the sharks. Daymond has written 5 books, 3 New York Times bestsellers, and is the only New York Times bestseller of any of the sharks. Daymond is a recipient of more than 35 awards, including the Brand Week Marketer of the Year and Ernst & Young's Master Entrepreneur of the Year. So please join me now with Daymond John. Well, hello, Daymond John, and thank you for joining me here on Virtually Speaking. How are you doing today, sir?
I am wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's so awesome to have you. I'm obviously a huge fan of you on the show, of you as an entrepreneur, and of you as a speaker. As you know,
Well, thank you.
I've booked you a few times, and it's been really great to be able to get people, somebody like you, who they get so excited about and who always delivers every time. So thank you for that.
Thank you, brother. I'm glad I've never let you down. And I know often how it is to be on the buyer's side when you're entrusting so much of your time, your energy, and your staff and or the body of people that support you. When you're entrusting somebody to give a message across, put a message across. So it's an honor. Thank you.
Absolutely. And there's so many things that make you an amazing man and an amazing thought leader and speaker that people would want to hire. Certainly, you as an entrepreneur, and I definitely want to get into that. But of course, Shark Tank is something I know you're as famous for, maybe even more famous for some people, and certainly I've come to know you as the People's Shark, and that's what I've heard. And I know you're the only one who has a New York Times best-selling book out of all the sharks. Is that right?
Yeah, it's an honor to be on the show. They do call me the People Shark. We can get into that a little bit later. I am the only one to have 3 New York Times
Oh,
best-selling books.
excuse
Yeah,
me.
so yeah, I have 5 books total, and 3 of them are New York Times best-selling books. And again, it's honor when people want to listen to you. So yeah, and I think I'm probably more known generally for Shark Tank because it plays anywhere from 40 to 60 times on CNBC. They call us the Kardashians of CNBC. It plays that amount of time per week, and then you have ABC, and as well as it's globally recognized intellectual property.
Yeah, and it's something great that you can watch with your spouse, with your kids, by yourself. It's something that really anybody who has any interest at all in entrepreneurialism or business or products or fun things like investing, and obviously it's proven that a lot
Yeah.
of people are into that stuff. And I assume all of your books have been about entrepreneurialism. What was your latest book called?
My latest book was Power Shift. All my books have not, they've all touched on entrepreneurialism, but it's something and the tactics that you can use, whether in your personal life as well as, in your professional life. Power Shift is about, a lot of people read my books and they said they didn't feel like they had power. So you can't be a great entrepreneur if you don't feel that you have power to be a great husband, a great wife, a great contributor to your community. Another one was the brand within. I mean, that you are first a brand before you have any other brand, whether you're working at a Fortune 500 company, as an entrepreneur, or you're running your own company. Another one was rise and grind. The biggest question is always asked: how do I have personal time in my life and
Yeah.
separate it from work time? What do I do? What are the methods? So, um, nobody can really be a great entrepreneur if they're not satisfied spiritually, themselves at home And and even if you are a great entrepreneur, what are you doing it all for if you don't have your health and your happiness and the love that you need in your life? So that's so basically my books touch on a certain core to then bring it all the way to this part of the spectrum.
Yeah, that's great. And thank you for writing those books. Um, it's interesting that Shark Tank has been such a big success. Did you have any idea it was going to be a huge success when they first called you? And why is this so successful?
Not at all. I did not think it was going to be, you know, a success at all. I think that when I heard that it was going to be people doing what you and I and everybody watching probably does every day, negotiations, that why would anybody want to watch that? Like five people doing what we do all day. Um,
That's a good point.
and it became a huge success for various different reasons. I'll tell you why. Number one, it was a show, and it is a show that the entire family could watch together, and it's evergreen. You don't need to watch it on Monday to know what happened on Tuesday. I'm in the middle of Ozark, and I'm itching because I think I missed episode 6, right? Um, Also, it's one of the top shows to watch kids 5 to 15, and one of the top shows to watch kids and parents together on networks. Reason being is that a family can negotiate around the dinner table on what Damon's going to do, why this is viable, what Barbara's not going to do. And they're learning. 10 years ago or 12 years ago, did you know what royalties were and margins were and things of that nature, right? And it has become part of our business lingo, has become part of the everyday American lingo. And you see kids are starting to control what they want to do in life. 50% of the kids today said they will never work for anybody for the rest of their lives. And a parent and a child can have an open negotiation and discussion. I hear kids about negotiating how they're going to do their chores or not, as well as for the parents in the world and people needing financial intelligence and everything else. They see other people who just like them. They got off the
Yeah,
couch yesterday and today they're applying themselves. And it's the American dream. So I think the show works for so many different reasons, and there's a lot of tentacles to the show because the show has made so many millionaires, and you don't just have to see the sharks go promote it. You see your everyday person now on local newspapers donating to charities and changing people's lives because they had a chance on Shark Tank, which they already deserve, and they went out and they took advantage of that opportunity, and now they are a mentor and they are employing people,
right.
and that is newsworthy. And people come back and say, "Where did that come from?" Boom, Shark Tank.
Yeah, there's so many great themes in there and so many great lessons to be learned for kids and entrepreneurs and budding entrepreneurs and
And I
anybody.
learned too. All
Yeah,
the sharks are learning as well. We're learning from each other, and we're learning from the new people who are coming up doing business a new way that we weren't trained to do business. And so we're all learning.
what has changed that you've learned the most with from the show? I mean, is there anything that you say, if it wasn't for the show, I wouldn't be doing business this way,
Oh
or I
my
wouldn't be.
God. I don't even know if I can, I don't know where to start. I would still be like my colleagues making a shirt. Hopefully, a retailer looks at the shirt and buys it. Hopefully, put it on the shelf. Hopefully, the kid takes it out of the back of the stock room. Hopefully, the woman or the male purchases it. Maybe they don't send it back. I wouldn't be understanding how to sell to people directly through remember, Instagram didn't come out to 2012. We came out in 2008, and Facebook had just was only 2 years old. There wasn't online conversion. I
Hmm.
also never thought of, even though I give often, I'm part of a lot of philanthropic companies. I never thought of selling a sock and giving away a pair to somebody in need, and realizing that
Right.
today's consumer wants to know what are you doing socially to other people and helping. I can buy your product, the same thing, any place else. Why am I buying from you? I want the story. So many different things I've learned on Shark Tank, and I continue to learn.
That's great. And when somebody walks through the doors, can you tell right off the bat that this guy's a winner or that gal's a winner?
The ones that you do feel good about are the ones that come to the door. They're confident. They have a smile. They're not overconfident, because then it seems like they're a ringer and they do this for a living.
Hmm.
And they look at the sharks in the eye. And before this is stuff that people don't know, behind the scenes stuff. They have to stand on that carpet for about 3 minutes without saying anything to us, because they're setting the cameras.
Wow.
The camera. There's 16 cameras filming you for 45 minutes or an hour. That's 16 hours of footage. They got to home those cameras. And the
Wow.
best people are the ones who come through. They're a little nervous and they go, sometimes they'll say stuff like, whew, this this is uncomfortable. But but you feel good because that's a human response, right?
Yeah,
But
that's right.
the person who comes through there like, and then they start telling how they're from Silicon Valley and this they had
Uh-huh.
this exit and that exit. We were like, oh god, a ringer.
Here
I
we
start
go.
I start thinking about what I'm going to eat for lunch.
Right. So what makes a great shark? Because all of us, we watch the show. Not only do we want to be a guy or a gal who's presenting a product and we want to win the day and get an investor, but we also want to be a shark. We also want to make that investment. We also want to be able to have an eye for talent or an eye for success of something that's going to pop. So what makes a great shark?
Listen, there's no one way to operate a business or be a shark. And when I like to say shark, I don't care if you are working and you own the business or you are working in the business, right? I consider myself, Batman and the rest of my staff Robin, but most of the times I'm Robin and they're Batman because I
Right.
shouldn't have hired them unless they're smarter than me. So a shark is somebody that we, for the lack of a better purposes, we invest in people
Mhm.
and we want to return on our capital or we want to return on things and we navigate our way to figure things out. Um, and that's what makes the show so great because we all understand the fundamentals of business, but Cuban and I or Barbara and I, we may disagree on the way to go about that success or the way about that, what about that route. What I have learned mainly is the best thing for the best thing about sharks, meaning entrepreneurs are they take affordable steps. They act, they learn, and then they repeat. They allow the people around them to fail and or try, and they manage the expectations and they make sure the downside is not too far. But once they fail, they collectively say, "How? What did we all learn from this, and
Right.
how are we going to make this better?" They acknowledge people when they succeed. They set goals. That's what sharks do. And they do their homework. They know that every single industry is a 50 or $100 billion industry. However, the number one brand in Shark Tank history that was invested in is socks. The number two is a sponge. And me, I made I made my money off of t-shirts. None of those are changing the world. So what a shark does is say, well, where is the unique selling proposition? How can I get people to execute this, and how can I over deliver for my customer? And that's what really sharks do. They analyze everything, and they just don't jump at everything because you can drown with opportunity.
Right. And but you're the guy who invested in the socks. Is that right?
I am. That's right. So when you do, listen, I know a lot of people represent a lot of the sharks, and they are considered underachievers when it comes to me, all the other sharks, because I am the king, the number one, the numero uno when it comes to investment. So I don't care what philosophy they say. You can make up your own opinion, but you can't make up your own facts. I am number one.
The most successful investor. That's very good for everybody to know. And speaking of being incredible at entrepreneurialism and business, you started your own company called FUBU, and everybody who really knows fashion and everybody who really knows cool stuff knows that that really is an acronym that stands for us, by us. So tell us what FUBU is and where did it start and how did you basically have this birth of a company?
So, the short story is that it came out of a love and desire that I had for hip hop. And this hip hop music was like today's kids' version of social media, Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat, because we never knew what was going on in other communities, and we never saw that on the 6 o'clock news. But through hip hop, kids that no longer had to be able to sing or dance or dance maybe, but they no longer had to sing or play an instrument, they were communicating about through this music about
Mhm.
what they loved or hate or valued or aspired to be. And it's not something that you just listen to. It's something you live. It came with a way to walk, talk, and dress. But as we supported a lot of other designers, we would hear that there were rumors that these designers didn't want kids who like hip hop or kids who are African Americans or kids who are inner city kids or whatever the case is. They didn't want us to wear their product. Now, knowing those designers now, I know that's exactly what it was, a rumor. But at that time, it was very hurtful to me because it
Mm.
said, who's ever going to embrace and love and value this culture that I really love? So I came up with letters, FUBU, for us, by us. Um, at first, a lot of people thought it was about supporting a certain color, But you know, my
Mm,
stepdad who came in my life, who happens to be of the Jewish faith, always told me to be pro-black, but never anti anything else.
mhm.
And if I were only to make the clothes for a certain color, well, then I'm becoming the thing I'm fighting against, right? And I never wanted to be that. It was always about a culture, and we would dress everybody from the Beastie Boys to Run DMC to whoever the case is, and the brand, you know, we expanded it to be a global brand. And I'll share with you, it was really simple. I started it with $40. One night I made a bunch of ski cap type of hats out of one big roll of fabric. And in 1989, Good Friday, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 42 degrees outside, I stood in a corner with those bag of hats, and I sold those bag of hats and made $800. And I realized at that point that my destiny was in my hands, and my goals were unraveling in front of me. And the fact that I no longer had to ever make an excuse that somebody was going to be in my way, whether I worked at a company or whether I owned my own company. I realized the essence of being somebody who was goal driven and somebody who's not going to let the world stop you. And I wasn't going to use my age, my color, my gender, the fact that I didn't barely finish high school, the fact that I got left back, the fact that I'm dyslexic. I'm not going to use that against me, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to carve a space in the world for myself. And that's what I did. And FUBU ended up becoming a global brand that we did about $6 billion in retail sales, and changed the way that the community was portrayed and is portrayed, and created a lot of other people who created other bigger brands, or big brands in music and everything else. Because, you know, as they call FUBU, the first hashtag of clothing, or hashtag of, you know, our business. And, you know, that became something great. And I learned a lot of lessons. And I first started when I was 20 years old, and now at you know, going on to 50 something, you know, over 30 years in business. And I've taken those lessons throughout my life, and I've gone from being somebody in the clothing and apparel business to being obviously a public speaker, to being somebody who's gotten to the height of publishing, to being somebody who's been on a national show for 12 years. And I've used those fundamentals to get throughout my life, throughout all those areas of my life, as well as you know, to be able to share it with other people, and more importantly, sometimes share the losses and the lessons that I've learned and the
Yeah,
hard hits I've had to take.
absolutely. And what great ideas are at the birth of that company about inclusivity, and you know, making sure that you know, don't alienate anybody, and you include everybody, and you know, make a voice for people who you thought needed it, and you certainly carved that out, which is amazing. And I see that gorgeous rendition of the best flag in the world behind you there.
That's right.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I remember going to a video set and I saw this and I was like, wow, that's amazing. And often when I address people, not normally in my public speaking, but when I'm on Instagram or stuff like that, because I have the news on, I try to bring people back to, and I consciously put it in the back of my chair, because I try to bring people back to realizing that we're in the best country in the entire world,
Amen.
and that we have more in common than we have apart,
Yeah.
and we're going to get through this like we've gotten through every single thing else.
Right.
And that's it. You know, I'm very proud of the country that I am a part of, and so many people that have served this great country, and my fellow countrymen and women that are in this country. So it's just something that I feel more people need to concentrate on than seeing all the negative stuff that is being thrown our way.
Yeah, and it feels like with this pandemic and with this new year of 2021 that it's a nice time, and it's an appropriate time for us to really kind of reset and look at the future, and maybe learn from our mistakes and learn from the things that we had to learn from, which is so appropriate that it was 2020. I mean, it's just crazy. But looking at our health, looking at the way we ran our businesses and the technologies that we hadn't embraced yet, and everything that we've had to learn and look at in these last 12 months or so, and now moving forward, you must have a lot of optimism for not only your, you know, for this country, but also for business. What do you think is the most exciting sector, and what do you think you're most excited about when it comes to business, and where we're headed, you know, with the show and with yourself? What's exciting you right now?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people are going to reset and understand their goals in life and understand what they value. Unfortunately, that's come out of the destruction of maybe losing loved ones and various other things. However, I think that business is going to change for the better. I think that the golden era is going to come around just like it did the Roaring Twenties after the pandemic in 1918.
Yeah.
I think that also people though will improve their quality of life. Spend more time with their families, be able to decide if they want to work virtually or not. I think that other employers and/or entrepreneurs or various other people realize that their contacts and Rolodex and their history is their biggest inventory and it's their asset, and they needed to tap into that. I think they also know that as we go virtually and go globally, that the talent pool has become global, and that if you can now be in your a place with your parents or someplace else and virtually teaching your child or virtually being able to operate your business, isn't that getting both of the things that you want to do out of life? Being able to
Yeah.
hopefully feed your family as well as live the quality of life you wanted to. And also a bunch of people are reevaluating their education.
Yeah.
Did I need to take more, have more financial intelligence so I wasn't over leveraged during this time? Did I need to know about the market? Did I need to know about technology? Because now my store is closed, but all my customers are right around the corner, but I never got their email or their social media addresses to
Mm.
be able to convert and converse directly with them. Or maybe I don't need retail anymore. Maybe I'm going to be like Bomba Socks and go direct to consumers and also have a social cause at the same time. So we've had more time to reflect over anything else. But I think before we even think about that, is I just want people now, right now, to know that entrepreneurship or any business you're in is a team sport. And we've seen the unfortunate sides of stress, such as Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain, that before we can go to do any of that stuff, take care of your health and mentally check in with other people and have conversations because you're not alone. And the good thing is the universe is on your side, like my good friend Barbara would say, because if you would have called people a year or 2 years ago and you would have felt embarrassed to say something or whatever the case is, everybody's going through their own thing right now and you get a
Yeah.
pass. And make sure you call people and check on them, make sure you're okay, because none of the stuff we talk about in business is ever going to be worth anything if you don't have your mental health and your health in general.
Wow, that's amazing. And that actually leads me right into my next question, which is, and I think now I know the answer, but you were a multimillionaire. You were incredibly successful before you really started into this public speaking arena. So what was your incentive to do this?
I felt that everybody was showing their sizzle reel instead of their blooper reel. And I felt that there was this unreasonable belief in entrepreneurship, and a lot of people felt that, listen, I'm working at a company, so I'm not worth anything. No, Daymond John can never be Daymond John if I didn't have people around me at my company. So you
Yeah.
can be that person at your company. Well, then other people said, well, I'm an entrepreneur and it's hard out there. Yeah, it's hard. It was hard for me too. And guess what? It's the best thing ever, right? I felt also that, people just did not have the step-by-step process also, or the right mind frame to walk through it. And because so many other people are, maybe they're faking it so they make it, or maybe they're giving unfair information out there, that somebody like me, who you see me against all the odds, as I shared with you before, all the things that happened to me, you see me up there on Shark Tank, and unfortunately, and this is truly unfortunate, I am one of the only publicly recognized people of color that are successful from a monetary standpoint as well as a business standpoint, that have nothing to do with music, sports, or politics.
Hmm.
And that is sad, because if you feel like you're marginalized, whether you feel like you're a person of color, whether you feel like you didn't get an education, or whether you feel like women are not respected, they don't get their fair shake like they haven't traditionally. When you see me up on that show, you can do it. You realize that you can do it. And when I shared my story with you, again, going back into my failures, you realize that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to have to start over. It's okay if you didn't have everything around you. And if Damon made it, I can make it. And
Yeah.
Damon's giving me the tools. And that's what I wanted to do, because I felt like so many people were just misled on what true success is.
Yeah, it's true, and it's amazing. When people watch the show, in a lot of ways, all of you, and I feel like honestly, especially you, are really caring about the people. You give advice, like even if you say no, this isn't for me, I'm out. But I want to leave you with a couple words of advice. Keep going down this path. Don't give up. This is just the beginning for you. I mean, I've heard you time and time again, really, even when you're saying no, like instill
Yep.
wisdom and confidence into these people because they're halfway there, and you know that.
Absolutely. And if you see that somebody else believes in you, and I have had to say, unfortunately, I think you need to stop. Or I've said, I think you need to, you know, think about that. What do they say? Failure is a way to start over again a little more wisely.
Right.
And I think sometimes they need that information as well. So that's what happens when people believe in you. Yeah, because as an entrepreneur or even somebody again in a company, when you say things that if you get the lowest, if everybody agrees with you, you have the lowest common denominator. If you're a visionary in a company right now and you want to move to the CEO position or the brand manager position or the supervisor position, and you're busting your butt and you have visions of where this place or this company could go, most people are not going to want to listen to you.
Yep.
They're either going to say, man, you're making my job harder for me. Are you kidding me? You're showing me up. But you truly want to, be somebody that rises to the top because then you can make a change. If you're an entrepreneur, you normally the normally I have most of the time I've seen entrepreneurs because they felt that there was something that was lacking in the market and they felt that they can add value to what was lacking in the market. They thought somebody else was going to do it, but nobody else did it, and I'm going to add value to it. So my job is to say that I believe in you and I think that you are doing the right thing because most of the people around them probably say, "Oh, that's never been done before,"
Right.
right? And that's my job, and I think that's what true mentors, hopefully, or people could do because we live in the world where we hear no a million times, we don't hear yes too many times. And if I say yes, I think that you're right. This investment not may not be in it for me, but I think that you are on the right path and you will win. I hope that that encourages them.
Yeah, and I've heard other incredible entrepreneurs. I represent Nolan Bushnell, who created Atari and Chuck E. Cheese, and one of his famous lines is, if everybody around you is telling you that your idea is crazy, then you're probably doing the right thing because
You're on to something.
you're onto something. Because a lot of people are going to tell you you're crazy. I mean, I'm sure Elon Musk and you and many guys like you and Cuban and all these other great entrepreneurs and serial entrepreneurs have heard no and that you're crazy over and over again. So it's absolutely great to hear you guys tell us that if you're the only one who thinks it's a good idea and everybody else thinks you're wrong, you might really be onto something. And that
That's true.
that actually is, I think, a little bit about why people also hire you to speak at their companies. Because I think when people have you as a speaker, they're probably asking you to talk a little bit about how to think differently and how to look at things differently from the perspective of a really successful man like yourself. Well, what is really the most popular thing that everybody's kind of asking you to talk about, or what's the most popular topic or theme that most people want you to talk about when you do the public speaking?
Generally it is that it is, how do you get somebody to think outside the box and not put themselves in the box? The last thing that anybody ever wants to do, and we all get it done to us, is put ourselves, is have somebody put us in the box. So they want
Hmm.
people to mentally understand what are the directions and how do I start to apply goal setting? How do I apply learning techniques? How do I apply communication, the ability to share my idea with others? How do I apply to listen a little bit more? And how do I create the entrepreneurial spirit within myself, whether it is in my home life, whether it is in my work life, because I work within a system, or whether it is in my leadership life? How do I do that within myself? And how do I also lead and get people to innovate? People a lot of times think innovation is this new great technology. Innovate is to get the mindset that you have to talk to somebody else and allow them to share what they think about, and you guys and men and women collectively develop something that is now changing the way that both of your processes are thinking, and then you're also grabbing other people towards it. And again, that innovation and that excitement can come from anything. I learned how to innovate my life when I was a waiter at Red Lobster, right? I never worked in a large corporation. I learned about sales. I learned about over delivering to a customer. I learned about doing the homework on how they were working and what was working for Red Lobster or not. I learned about getting my team at Red Lobster to help me on the weekend at flea markets selling FUBU. So if I can do that at Red Lobster, then I can share that with people on how they can do it within their companies or within their systems. So those are the things they ask about. They want to talk about how do you to sum it up, They want people to understand how to be entrepreneurs within a system, because often they want me to speak to people and get them excited. However, these people are employed by people, and they want me to have them direct their energy towards being a better person for themselves and for the company, but do not get them too excited where they're like, I quit, and I'm going to start my own company,
Right.
right? As well as I'm asked also in entrepreneurial organizations, how do I get the staff and the team to move in one goal, to move forward that organization. So those are basically the top things, but it's always pretty much on goal setting, and it's all on
Got it.
how they position their minds.
And innovation, you said, which is really great.
Yeah, and sometimes it's challenging for me to ask because I'm asked to speak to everything from 2,000 doctors who are
Right.
born, who have an education in a very specific area, but yet they're not the greatest business people,
Right.
to Fortune 500 companies who have everything figured out for the next 20 years generally, but they want people to move in unison, to people who are talking to totally independent entrepreneurs who need to understand how to build and become a global brand.
Right.
So I get so many different areas, and it's fascinating to me.
Well, it's great because you can pivot, and not a lot of speakers have this ability to really customize, who are really famous and really well-known guys like you. I mean, you actually customize, with the clients in a way where they really get what they're looking for, unlike a lot of other people who kind of just have one speech, and if you like it, great. If you don't, too bad. My last question for you, Daymond, and thank you so much for all your time today. And this has been unbelievable. I can't wait to watch this again. But my last question for you is, what is a main mistake that people in mindset, I think, are making, as people who have a 9-to-5 job all the way up to the CEO or the president? I feel like there's got to be something that you're aware of. You've seen it on Shark Tank. You've seen it in business. You've seen it with some of your peers. But what's the number one mistake people make in being positive or not being able to be positive or optimistic about, the way of their success and what they're worth? I mean, I feel like everybody beats themselves up. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, so unfortunately, there's no one thing. I would say there would be three things. The number one thing would be they don't know the purpose, the reason they're doing it or not doing it. Meaning, they don't know their why. Why am I doing this? Am I doing it for other people that I really don't care? Did my parents raise me to think like this? Am I doing it out of fear of losing something? And why am I not doing it? Number two is they don't set the proper goals. If you don't know your why, you can't set your proper goals. And if you don't set your goals, period, well, then you allow other people and things in the world to set goals for you. You can't be the CEO. You can't go to $100 million in sales, or that's never happened before in my life or your life, and you're going to embarrass yourself, and you're going to embarrass us. And number three is the lack of wanting to further educate themselves. I'm still educating myself today. I'm educating
Right.
myself more now than ever before.
Right.
But a lot of people feel that if they know everything else in the world, well, then there's nothing else for them to learn. So if you don't know your why, you don't know the goals that you have. If you don't know the goals you have, you can't educate yourself. And I don't care if it's about how to eat healthier, how to be a better husband, how to be a better wife, how to be a better person in your community,
Right.
how to grow a company, how to reduce your stress. It doesn't matter. So those are the three things: why, goals, and homework.
And educate yourself. Yeah. With that homework, that is so important. And that's why, they say the leaders of the world really should be reading a lot of books, and
The
always.
average, the average, the average CEO reads 50 a year. The average employee reads one.
Yeah. And you have 5 great books, 3 bestsellers that you talked about earlier that are all incredible. So, Daymond, again, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for being such a great man and so accessible and so down to earth and so kind, so funny and fun on the show, and just a real great speaker that I love to tell everybody about. So, for all of those reasons, thank you, and thank you most of all for coming on the show today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for bringing so many amazing voices out and introducing them to the world, where they change people's mindsets to be better people and have a more fulfilled life.
Amen. Thank you, man. I'll talk to
You
you
got it, Rudy.
soon. I'll see you around, and have a good one.
All the best. Thank you.